All right, some very, very troubling news just happened this past week.
Woohoo! I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't even know what it is.
And that's the end of the video.
I'm just trying to make up their job.
I thought it's one of those opposite news where you start off like it's sad, but then it's.
I probably should do it. It's like JK's new.
We should always cheer when he goes, all right, we got some fucked up shit that happened.
Let's go, Anthony!
That's probably like the 2 seconds of happiness we're gonna get before he crushes it. Because you know when Steve Green does that, he goes, all right guys, there's gonna be a sad one. And then it's like some guy got a USB cord in his dick.
And that is pretty sad.
This isn't one of those, right?
This is making it way worse, actually.
All right, maybe we should redo it.
Interrupt us, man.
Yeah, why don't you let us?
It's you guys' show, you know?
Do a different article, please. Hey, this is JK news. Not just serious news.
You know, it's just important because we were talking just before this. Like, it's important for the JK platform to also bring Asian awareness stuff to light, and that's why I just felt like we should talk about it.
Oh, it's not another one of those Asian hate things again. Goddamn, there's too many going on right now.
So a woman was followed and fatally stabbed in her Chinatown apartment in New York.
Bullshit, man. Chinatown? Mm-hmm. What's going on in Chinatown right now where there's all this Asian hate and then there's no more Chinese triads, or like there used to be hella Asian gangs. Like,
oh yeah, I think they all. I think they reformed themselves and then
the Green Dragons,
like lawyers and stuff now.
We got to bring back Asian gangs, bro.
I mean, what was better? This is real. Like this is honestly speaking, right? Because we grew up in that gang era, like right
gang
here.
Protection.
Because I remember in Chinatown, like some one of those shopkeepers were getting harassed, right, from some guys that look like gang members and whatever. And then you saw these two old Chinese dudes roll up, and then this one guy pulled up his shirt. He had 2 fucking guns right here. And then the kids looked at it and they just ran. And I was like, holy shit, that's some mafia stuff, right? And I'm like, this was happening, all the way up until the early 2000s, where there were a lot of tough dudes just like keeping this peace, I guess, You didn't see any violence in Chinatown. But right now, it's like, where are they? Are they all in jail? And which one's better? Is it better to have those guys there exploiting the neighborhood, but at least old ladies are safe? Like because they're still extorting their own people. You know what I mean? Like the gangs aren't angels. Yeah. But is that better, or is it now that the world is a little bit safer, but then it's not, because you got these guys coming in beating up old Asians and shit.
This lady right here is not even old. Her name's Christina Yuna Lee. She's actually a creative producer at a digital music platform.
Splice, yeah.
And she's and this was a 25-year-old man who was arrested in killing and pretty much. She was 35, that's what it is.
So it's young people just, damn.
Yeah, stabbed to death inside her lower Manhattan apartment early Sunday by a man who had followed her from the street and into her building.
Wow.
The woman who police identify as Christina Yuna Lee was the latest person of Asian descent injured or killed in a string of random attacks in New York City, many of them committed by people who had severe mental illness.
See, that's the other side of that, right? That's the side that, like, unfortunately we don't really hear enough about. Is a lot of these Asian attacks are from people that are just severely mentally ill.
So when they say like Asian hate, right? Like maybe some of them are racially motivated, but not all of them. Like you're saying, there's just a lot of people that need help that are just nuts, that are biting people, punching people for no reason.
Yeah, no, I think it's both, right? I think it's both. I think a lot of them are racially motivated, but I also I've seen the videos that I've seen on the Asian hate stuff. They end up being mentally ill. Right.
To play devil's advocate, how come it's not like a string of attacks on the other races too?
I don't know.
Or is it just like a recategory?
Media. I think it's media
Yeah,
too.
it's media.
So wait, they're not attacking white people and all that stuff?
It's mainly Asians that are being attacked, and then so obviously Asians in response to it are saying that, oh my God, there's been a 361% increase in Asian-related crimes and stuff since the coronavirus. So misinformation about like it being from China, blah blah blah, has spurred some sort of like insecurity or hate. But at the same time, when I'm seeing these articles, if anything, from like the writer's point of view or from the devil's advocate point of view, you're always talking about like, oh, it's mental illness. But if you look at the patterns and stuff, and again, I don't want to be saying something unpopular, but also most of the time it's also all black people, but like they never talk about that. You know what I'm saying? So I think you're just seeing kind of like a melting pot of a lot of fucked up stuff at the same time.
For sure.
And on the one hand, you can be like, maybe this is a pattern. Whether it be Asian people, whether it be mentally ill people, whether it be...
Because the pattern is, what I'm seeing on all the videos of the attacks, it's usually like, it is a lot it is, for some reason, it is a lot of black and Asian. And is it because they're, you know, so it's obviously not middle class or wealthy black people or like whatever, right? But it's just the down and out people. So is it because the community is doing it, or is it because it just so happens that they're a part of that poor minority group that is in New York, and it just so happens that they're black? So for example, right, we're in an Asian neighborhood, so there's a lot of Asians here. So obviously the burglaries are gonna be a bunch of Asians that are committing the crime, right? Sure. So in all these neighborhoods, Oakland, New York, there's a lot of poor black people, right? So then it's not happening in Georgia, it's not happening in Tennessee. So is it, that's where I'm confused of. Is it like, is it just because like they're super poor, or like they're just on drugs, or like, I don't think it's a race thing. I think it's like some kind of issue is going on that we don't understand yet.
Yeah, I think it's like what Anthony said. It's a combination of all these things together that create this kind of like, in a way, like a weird phenomenon. And I think for most people, what they deduce is just from not from the outside and what the media headlines are. It's easy to say it's just race on race crime. That's the bare level. But then as you dig into it, then you start to see, oh, maybe there's a little mental illness aspect. Maybe there's some aspect from, you know, racism about the coronavirus. Maybe there's an aspect about just like what you said, Joe, about the poor communities and just being in a community together. And it's just like, that's the easiest target, unfortunately. But I think a lot of the times too, some of these people that commit these crimes, they are looking for easy targets.
I think the combination is like, if you're like just watching the Asian news and you're not really looking into it too much, you are gonna just think, oh, 100%. Black people hate Asians, and that's all you're gonna come off with. But yeah, you're not willing to see the fact that like in the demographic of homeless, like, or just dismally low income crazy people, there are actually a lot of black people in that
100%.
in that exact demographic, and those attacks, I think even in the mind of a fucking mentally ill, just far gone person, even that guy in his crazy ass mind still sees Asians as a perfect ideal victim.
100%.
I mean, if you tell a crazy person, regardless of what race, right?
Yeah.
If you go, this shit came from China, and the reason why
Right.
all of us are getting sick and we have to be in quarantine is because of Chinese. You know, a lot of Americans also don't know the difference between Asian American and Chinese from China. They call us all Chinese.
Yeah.
So
Even Tyka says that shit.
So if a normal American, right?
Racist baby.
Normal American, normal as in like if an average American who can actually communicate, they're not mentally ill, if they don't even know the difference between an Asian American and a Chinese from China, then what's gonna happen when a mentally ill person on drugs sees an Asian person walking down the street? They're gonna be like, you're the fucking problem.
And he's probably paranoid schizophrenic already.
Yeah.
So that's a.
You already had hella conspiracy theories before this shit.
So it's an ideal paranoid schizophrenic response to be like, oh, this is the enemy, I have to kill them.
Dude,
like it's
and you see it a lot. Like you really see these patterns. I saw this one video, this black dude on a subway, just like having these delusions about like how this Asian dude is like in his face. Right, and he's just like this old Chinese dude, and he's just see, I even did it right now. He's probably not even Chinese. Who knows what he is? He could be Korean, bro. But in my eyes, in my expert opinion,
You're fucking
I think he
racist,
was
man.
Chinese.
You're fucking racist,
I think he was
dude.
Chinese. But he's just standing there, and he's trying his best to like just ignore the guy, but this guy's getting in his face and just creating that delusion, that talk of like, you know, you're the enemy, blah, 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 blah. So I think it is a weird combination of just all these different variables, because that's what we have to think about. It's all nuance, right? Like if we read a headline, we have to kind of look into it a little bit more. And
I think the harmful thing is thinking it's any one of those things isolated.
Exactly.
It's not gonna fuck all of it up.
No,
like, dude,
100%.
it is a perfect storm of all these like different fucking factors.
Yeah,
that
and then the
creates
media
that
doesn't help
happening.
either because
Dude, they're fucking it up.
The thing is, what sucks is it's not as simple as like black people hate Asian people. Or any, it's so fucking stupid to think of it that way.
No.
It's just like, it's more like there's mentally like ill people that are just taking out their anger on what they believe should be happening, but at the same time, they're not even operating on logic. Yeah. And this is not to excuse the thing or whatever. This phenomenon exists, but then it also, we can't talk about it. Because if you talk about it, then it's like, oh, you just so racist against black people. And I'm like, no, that's not even the case, because I don't even see them as black people. You know what I mean? I see them as like if you saw Asian crackhead, that's not normal Asian people. You know
That's
what I mean?
crackhead.
That's a fucking crackhead. So when
Crackhead is
you
a
see
crackhead, yo.
So when you see a black dude like stabbing up an old Asian grandma, you don't go, "Oh, black people at it again."
You don't go, that's the black community. That's not the fucking
yeah, that's
community.
not the black community. Yeah, that's so stupid, right? But then that's what turned. I think that's what happens because you see it over and over and over, and you think like, "Oh shit, what happened here?" You know.
Unfortunately, it's a more interesting headline. What's going to grab people's attention more than Asian hate crime, you know, or putting that certain narrative out there when people are scrolling and they see that, they're going to look into it and click that.
That is the irony, though, because if most of the victims are Asians, and for that same reason too, where it's like, you know, maybe Asians are just the easiest victims or whatever in some sort of weird subconscious understanding that everybody happens to have, then it is an Asian hate.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
You know,
So-
for sure.
So it's just, I think it's just all shitty regardless.
Yeah.
But the fact that it keeps on happening, it is painting a really, really unique problem in today's generation that needs to be talked about, even if the answer is complex. You know?
Do they have an intent from this guy? Is this guy just?
Well, here's the thing. This guy, you know, because there's surveillance video that shows him like following her into her place, and you know, she was found dead in like what was it, a bathtub?
Oh my god.
For real?
Well, when I did a little bit of a deep dive into this, it's so yes, there's a uptick in like, you know, these crazy violent, you know, crimes, right? But you know, statistically, it's all over in major cities. Petty crime as well as just all sorts of crime is happening. So even in Asian dominant places like Hawaii, right? And so one of the issues I think is because from these cities, they want to change the way that they police. And so prosecutors aren't prosecuting. So let's say, and repetitive offenders are being let loose.
Especially in California.
And if you see the rap sheet,
Criminal justice reform.
yeah, if you see the rap sheet of these guys, I guarantee you that they have a fucking ton of assaults.
This guy had
and
like
things.
7 assaults or something.
Right. See, there you go.
This guy, Mr. Nash, has a history of misdemeanor arrests. Court records show, including an incident in September of Grand Street Station near the building where the killing occurred, when a 62-year-old man told the police that Mr. Nash had punched him in the face after he swiped his Metro card for another passenger.
So my question is, right, why is the state failing? Why aren't these guys locked up? And why are they allowed to be let on the loose? Because if you hear every single one of these stories of, you know, this crazy dude fucked up this Asian lady, whatever, right? It's never their first time. They've been violent before to other people, to people of their own community, whatever, right? So it's not their first time committing a crime, and all of their victims aren't Asian. You know, they fucked up an old black dude or whatever, right? So like if you see their rap sheet, my whole thing is, why is there an agenda right now for the prosecutors to let loose everybody and to not prosecute? This is the number one thing that's just mind-blowing.
It's so bad to the point that some of the people they pick up today, they just got caught for the same crime 48 to 72 hours ago.
For real, dude.
Yeah, like some guy stealing a car, GTA, and he just stole a car 3 days ago, got processed.
Well, you do an actual GTA.
Yeah.
And so what blows my mind too is that, so this is happening in Oakland, New York, LA, and out of all places, Honolulu. So even Honolulu.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because so I have, you know, friends in different police departments in different cities, right? And then so I'm tying all these dots together and I'm like, what's going on in these predominantly left-wing cities? Now, I don't want to get like too political, but there is a political agenda. Because if all the prosecutors are like left-leaning or they're on that spectrum of the, you know, team, and they don't believe in prosecuting right now, and also there's the whole defund the police and all this stuff going on. So what's happening all over is our friend from our cop friend here from LA and in Honolulu, they both say cops are doing their jobs, they're catching bad guys, right? And so like one incident in Honolulu is there's a guy that's constantly groping women and he's fucking out there molesting all these women. And so they catch him, but then the prosecutor doesn't want to prosecute because it's not a severe crime. So what he ends up doing is he goes back out and he touches girls. And he basically gets crazier and crazier up until the point where they're like, we got to do something about this dude. And then it got worse because he feels it like untouchable.
Yeah, it feels empowered now.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we're seeing these things where like, you know, all these people are getting stabbed and beat, it's because they're allowed to do it. So they're positively reinforced. They're not being punished. So maybe one time it'll start with a punch in the face. The next, it's a fucking stabbing. And it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah.
So I put the blame on the prosecutors and our justice system.
Oh, 100%.
Who don't want to incarcerate and rehabilitate in the right way. Because I'm like, this is the reason why it's happening. And I think it's a stupid reason to be like, oh, it's just because black people hate us. I think that's the stupidest thing.
That's
you
a
can say.
cop-out, yeah.
Yeah.